Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Chinmayam Jnapyak Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tvameva Mata Shapita Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Jai Guru Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Do you remember which verse, where it is on the page?
There's only one Sanskrit verse on that page.
Okay.
Tasmadvideha mukto sakshat sadhanasya tattva-jnanasya pradhanatva-mupapannam vasanakshayam nonashayor jnana sadhanatvena vyavahitatva-dupasarjanatvam asuravasanakshay karinya deva vasanaya jnana sadhanatvam shruti smrityor rupalabhyate Shanto danta uparatastitikshuh samahito bhutvatmanye vatmanam pashyet. Iti Shruti. So, in the attainment of Videha Mukti, the superiority of the knowledge of reality, which is the direct means to Videha Mukti, is established. The effacement of latent impressions and the dissolution of the mind, which are the means to knowledge, occupy the subordinate position. That divine impressions which destroy demoniac impressions are the means to knowledge is found in Shrutis and Smritis.
So the import of the verse is this. We start off with developing subhej, auspicious desires, our mumukshutva, our desire for liberation. We develop the proclivities to turn the mind toward the self. We develop the enjoyment of Atmaramana, reveling in the self, this Parama Prema. These are the auspicious desires which destroy the extroverted. He calls them asura vasana, I think. Wasn't that the term he used?
I think so.
Yeah. So those that lead us in trouble. So if our mind is continually extroverted into the world, I need distraction. Drugs, sex, and rock and roll. I need more, better, different, power, prestige, all those sorts of things. This is no blame. This is the ordinary state of the extroverted mind of the ignorant. Then we endeavor to develop these auspicious desires, the subhage. Then this culminates in our desire to acquire the qualifications of a fit student, viveka, vairagya, samadhi, guna, mumukshutva. And then we work on manonasha, the destruction of the mind, and the elimination of the vasanas. I love the term that Shankara uses, this great, great text that we study, Viveka Chudamani. Viveka's discrimination. Money is a jewel. Chuda means a crown or a crest. Think of a big turban with a jewel in it. But what I like about the term is frequently a jewel is faceted. Sometimes they're just a raw jewel that's been polished, but also sometimes they're cut with facets. And frequently that's how we approach our sadhana. Is it the effacement of the vasanas? Is it the destruction of the mind? You work on it all. You work on it all. But the bottom line is, do you know who you are? And the point of this whole section, the scriptures talk about a distinction between the Jivan Mukta and the Videha Mukta. Someone who's liberated while alive and the one who's liberated beyond the body. It gives us hope if we're doing sadhana for many years and we do not attain sthita prajna, steady wisdom. What the scriptures say is, you will go to Brahmaloka and be released at the end of the age. Or at least your next lifetime, you're born into a family where you are reunited with your knowledge, your yoga, and quickly attain liberation. Krishna says, my devotee is never destroyed. That's to give us hope. But the basic import of this verse is Videha Moksha is not better than Jivan Moksha. Liberation is liberation. What is liberation? Truth is yourself is already liberated. But what the yogi endeavors to do is remove the cause of suffering. Remove the cause for the subtle body to continue to engage in the world of samsara, thinking I'll be happy when it'll be better if, not realizing that kama, craving, and dukkha, suffering, are the same thing. My view, strive hard for liberation in this very body, in this very Shankara says the person who has the great punya merit of having attained a human birth and has that warrior spirit, the courage, and is exposed to the tradition, and especially if they meet a woman or a man of steady wisdom, and they don't strive hard for liberation, they're just wasting a lifetime. Knock yourself out. You have all eternity. Come back, do it again. We will gladly refund your misery. Here, have another one. All right, next verse. And speak loudly so we can overcome the noise outside.
Smritirapi amanitva madam bhetvam mahimsa Shantirajvam Acharyopasanam Shocham Sthairya Matma Nigraha Indriyartheshu Vairagya Manahankara Evacha Janma Mrityu Jaravyadhi Dukha Doshanu Darshanam. In the Smriti also thus, humility, unpretentiousness, nonviolence, forbearance, uprightness, service to the teacher, purity, steadfastness, and self-control, indifference to the objects of sense, and also absence of egoism, reflection on the evils of birth, death, old age, sickness, and pain. That's from the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, so here Vidyaranya is drilling down on what are these auspicious desires, this subhej, these qualities of head and heart that it is advantageous for us to work on. And again, we can't do it all at once. We fasten it like a jewel. So let's take each one and go through it briefly. So the first one,
Humility.
Humility. So humility is not thinking less of yourself. Thinking less of yourself is another form of pride. I think I'm better than everybody else, that's pride. But if I think I'm worse than everybody else, that's pride. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. How do we develop humility? If you are identified with ego, and it's difficult to drop that, take the position, I'm an ordinary person. My mind is not particularly different than anyone else's. The most challenging place for ego to reside is in the middle. To be a worker among workers, a fellow among fellows. Then, others center the mind. The essence of lack of humility is, how am I doing? Am I okay? What do they think of me? I me, mine, I me, mine, I me, mine. So here Gita says, turn the mind into seva, service. I don't care what your problem is. Go help another person. Be of service. The other tool is turn your mind to the Lord. Those are the two ways to get out of paranoid self-observation. which is the essence of lack of humility. Any thoughts on this? All right, next idea.
Unpretentiousness.
Same idea. We can start to use the spiritual life as a possession. It's not so much a big deal in the West, but in India, golly, if you're a Swami or a Swamini, you wear the orange robes and people treat you like a god. They run up and touch your feet. They put garlands on you. They want to all this enormous respect. One of the things you find is that people who come from poor social environments and class, you become spiritual and all of a sudden your status increases. You find this in some third world countries and certainly in Ireland in the Catholic Church. I have a very dear friend who came from a very poor farming family. And he went into the priesthood, and all of a sudden his social status was high. Oh, Father. Same thing, oh, Swamiji. So many people enjoy the pretension of the spiritual life. And here Gita is saying, no. Someone was once asked what it's like to hang out with the Dalai Lama. And the person's answer was Westerner, said, he's always the smallest person in the room. No agenda. Nothing to prove. No need for importance. Many of us were ignored as children, and we have the compulsion to be seen. I want people to notice me. Yogi needs to give all that up. Do your work. Next idea.
Nonviolence.
Ahimsa. I was reading a commentary on the Yoga Sutra and the 10 qualities of yamas and niyamas. This commentator said they can all be reduced to non-violence, non-injury. Don't be a jerk. Now listen carefully. That also includes not injuring yourself. Don't injure others, injure yourself. Committing to a life of non-harming, non-injury. Next idea.
Forbearance.
What's the word that he uses? Is it titiksha?
No. Kshantir?
I don't know.
Kshantirar Chavam, maybe?
Don't know. Anyway, forbearance. So the idea is that we are willing to endure the vicissitudes of life as they come. In the 12-step tradition, there's a very famous prayer called the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is the intelligent form of forbearance. Forbearance does not mean being a doormat. Forbearance does not mean unnecessary pain in life. Now, the question is, what can I change and what can I not change? So many people interpret the prayer this way: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Other people. The courage to change the things I can. Myself. And the wisdom to know the difference. Can't do other people's yoga. Only work on our own kleshas, our own afflictions, our own defilements, our own doshas, our own defects. This, in my opinion, is a deeper understanding of forbearance. Now, the word Shankara uses for it in Viveka Chudamani is tidiksha. And the capacity to endure the vicissitudes of life without the need for redress or revenge. And for me, the best way to move into that is with a clear understanding of karma. We don't get what we want. We don't even get what we need in this life. We get the inevitable results of our past actions. If I understand that, if something negative comes to me from the environment, the ignorant person thinks they done it to me. Fight, 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 fight. The yogi says, the maturing of prarabdha, the force of the past, my own previous past actions, mostly done in ignorance. So what am I going to do? Return good for evil. That's the bottom line. Don't perpetuate the cycles of injury and violence and control. Break it. That's what I call the point of power. The point of power is how I respond rather than react to the vicissitudes of life. Now, don't worry. If a negative circumstance comes because of my past karmas and I miss it, I don't understand that this is an opportunity for titiksha, and I do respond with redress and revenge. The Lord is infinite and patient. It'll come by again. And it will keep coming by as long as I keep reinfecting that karmic cycle. You have to understand, where is the cause? It's never out there. Any thoughts on this? Next verse, or not, next idea rather.
Uprightness.
I think that, is that satyam? What's the word he's using for that?
I think it's arjavam.
I don't know what that word means.
Me neither.
So uprightness, here I would think of it more as straightforwardness. Again, don't lie, cheat, steal. Don't be a jerk. Live the best we can according to the Dharma. Be truthful. Show up on time. Again, understanding karma makes this much easier. Why shouldn't the yogi cheat? If you cheat, you will be cheated. Why doesn't the yogi lie? If you lie, you will be lied to. It's so simple. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, Christian. Don't do to others as you don't want them to do to you, Chinese. It will be done unto you as you have done unto others, Hindu. Next idea.
Self-control.
Yes. So the yogi learns to attain to what?
Sorry. Service to the teacher.
Yes. So service to the teacher. So this is all part of the tradition in the Gurukula, in the ashram. It is the responsibility of the students to take care of the teacher, to serve the community that needs to be done. We don't have that framework frequently in the West, but still seva is important. Swamiji thundered, serve the society. Live a life of service. I remember talking with someone several years ago, and he says, Jim, I'm just not like you. I'm a greedy, selfish man. You're always doing service. And I said to him, you know, I'm greedy and selfish too, but I've just discovered that I'm so much happier when I live a life of service rather than trying to get my own needs and wants met. Trying to satisfy my needs and wants is like pouring fuel on the fire. They just get greater. But endeavoring to serve, no thought of return. This is not a transactional thing. Makes life more enjoyable. So simple. Next idea.
Purity.
Shuddha. So there are levels of it. Obviously, take care of the purity of your body and your environment. Bathe regularly, wash your clothes, make the bed, do the dishes, keep your house clean. You will find that if your environment is sattvic, it helps maintain a sattvic mind state. If your home is a pigsty, you'll find your mind is likely to be that way too. That's the gross form of purity. The subtle form of purity is purity of mind. We can start by thought replacement in the early stages, endeavoring to not go down the rabbit hole of habituated negative thinking. Instead, turn the mind into positive channels of thinking. But in the end, just like pure water is water where all the impurities have been removed, the highest form of purity is fewer thoughts. Emptiness is the deepest meaning of purity. Next idea.
Steadfastness.
Yes. So I like to tell people, I've been a crappy yogi. Oh, the mistakes I've made, how I've fallen short over and over and over again. But I've been steadfast. So I was talking with this kid who actually teaches theology in a girls' high school, a Catholic high school. And one of the things they're doing is they're reading Bhagavad Gita. He's going to teach Bhagavad Gita. He's read it twice. He has 2 editions that he uses. Well, I don't know about you. I first read Gita in 1975. So next month we will start studying Gita again. I will be next year 50 years with this text, almost continually. Takes me about 2.5 years to go through Gita. Every time I do it, I don't know about you, I get something. I was doing sadhana for 7 years before that in other traditions, 57 years as a yogi. It's been the one constant theme of my life. Not been a good yogi, but I've been steadfast. Keep at it. Keep at it. And that delivers the results. Keep on keeping on. Will there be periods of distraction, periods of discouragement, periods of disappointment? You might even get angry with God. A loved one is taken away, some catastrophe happens. It's all right to get angry with God. But keep on keeping on. Next idea.
Self-control.
Yes. So Gita uses this wonderful term yoga rudha to attain to control. Arudha, ashwa rudha. Arudha is a riding term. It means to mount a horse, get on a horse. And the idea here is the horse is the steed of the mind, this powerful beast that is our servant when it's under control. So many of us are tyrannized by the indulgent tendencies of mind. I'm at the effect of raga and dvesha. One of the things meditation teaches us, just because I have an impulse doesn't mean I have to act on it. Just don't do something, sit there. And more quickly than you would imagine, the impulse passes. So the yogi must learn to let go of the tyranny of the indulgent part of the mind. Next idea.
Indifference to the objects of sense.
Yes. So the world isn't bad. Also doesn't mean we don't enjoy. But it means this deep, deep detachment. My favorite example is like a sunset. You can go watch a sunset. Oh, isn't it beautiful? Yes. Well, it's gone in 20 minutes. Are you going to grieve? Not particularly. That's what sunsets do. They go away. Are you going to take it home and hang it on your wall? Don't be ridiculous. Nobody can own a sunset. Does that mean I shouldn't watch them because I shouldn't enjoy them? No. The world isn't scary for the yogi. This world is Brahman. But what's the truth of the names and the forms? Brahma, Satyam, Jagan, Nitya, Nama, Rupa. Names and the forms are illusory. Pretty to look at, but nothing substantial. How do we develop indifference to objects of the senses? The most powerful meditation is own your dukkha, own your sorrow, own your suffering. My suffering is my craving. What's it feel like to want something you don't have? Yoga says there's no other suffering. And own your ananda. Desire and object of desire become one. That's a kiss of the bliss of Brahman. It's a taste of my own self-nature. How do I come to that insight? Watch, watch, watch. Happiness, joy, pleasure always tastes the same. It will vary in intensity and it will vary in duration, depending on how badly I wanted the object and how completely it satisfied that desire. If it's gross, easy to acquire, pleasure is intense, quickly gone. As it gets more subtle into feelings and thoughts, more difficult to acquire, the joy is more subtle, but it's more enduring. But it's always temporary. I get confused because of the diversity of sensory experience. I have to pay attention to that ananda. Next idea.
Absence of egoism.
Yes. Take on the mantra. No personal sense of self is real. If I feel like a person, I'm deluded. If I feel like a person, I'm deluded in everything my mind presents to secure, protect, defend, satisfy self is rooted in an illusion. Like the dream ego struggling to get out of the cage. Thinking if I just find the right key, I'll get out of the cage. When the real solution is wake up. If I think I'm a person, I'm deluded. No personal sense of self is real. Stop the struggle of ego and instead drop the struggler. How? Who am I? Oh, I'm not a person. I'm that ground of being. I'm that Chidakar. Satchidananda Rupaham. My form is pure existence, pure consciousness in this absence. Sangoham, I'm completely unattached. all the equivalents. Next idea.
Reflection on the evils of birth, death, old age, sickness, and pain.
So, more than evils, the defect is how I would frame it. What do bodies do? They're born, they grow up, they get sick, they fall apart, they die. That's inevitable. All bodies do that. And every experience is impermanent. So the fool has this false notion of the permanence of the body, the permanence of youth. What's the slogan people say? The young people unconsciously think they're immortal. My God, I have a pain. I haven't ever had a pain in my body before. But as we age, oh, we begin to see the inevitability. Like driving an old car. Something's falling off all the time. And as Gita says, why grieve over the inevitable? Next idea.
That's it for the verse.
All right. Any thoughts or questions? Wonderful list of subhej, qualities of head and heart that it's advisable to acquire. Work on it. Facet this jewel. Can't do it all at once. Take one, maybe two. Work on that one today. Set as your goal today. Which of these qualities am I going to work on today? And you can make up your own. You may find that, say, you're impatient. Okay, today, I'm going to work on being patient. When I find myself getting annoyed, patient, see if I can just let it go. Be with the world as it is. Maybe I have an issue of being critical of other people. Can I work today, just for today? An understanding when people behave badly, they do it for the same reason when I behave badly. I'm hurt or I'm frightened. You've been hurt or frightened? Oh, yeah. Did you act poorly when you were hurt or frightened? Oh, yes. Now you understand the human condition. You know why husband or wife or child or parent or politician is behaving as they do. Again, this doesn't mean they're right and I'm wrong. I'm not saying that. All right, next verse.
Asaktiran bhishvagaha putradar grihadishu nityam cha samachittattvamishtanishtopapatishu. Non-attachment, non-identification of self with son, wife, home, and the rest, and constant even-mindedness in the midst of the desirable and undesirable happenings.
So here he's continuing with the list. So let's continue our parsing of the first idea.
Non-attachment.
Yes. All is mine to use, none is mine to own. Way back in the 70s, when I was in the crazy ashram in the Haight, we actually had two houses. Those of us who were living in the Haight, we ran a catering company and a theater company to support the community. But the other house out in the avenues ran a used furniture store, like an antique furniture store. And in the garage, in the yard, they refinish furniture and then they go into the shop. So you could work really hard on, say, refinishing a bureau or a dresser. Beautiful piece of furniture. Have it in your bedroom. And then you'd come home one afternoon and your clothes would be piled on the bed and the dresser gone. You could enjoy, but you could not possess. Again, it doesn't mean not to enjoy the world. And using the things of this world to fulfill your prarabdha, your dharma. Always with a deep understanding, as the Hebrew scriptures say, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. That's this one. Any thoughts on this? Next idea.
Non-identification of self with son, wife, home, and the rest.
So again, furthering this idea of letting go of egoism. So the root of all egoism is body identification. I think I'm the body. And from that come all these various relationships and status. I'm the son of so and so. I'm the wife of so and so. I have value because I have children. I don't have value because I don't have children. I have this important job. I work for Google. I don't have an important job. I'm just a housewife or a house husband. All of these ideas where ego tries to assert itself through the distorted mirrors of the world. And be careful, because the psychotherapist will say, reframe the story. So your wife is making all the money and you're a house husband. I'm a man, I should be supporting the family. Well, that's just an idea. You have value as a man. You're doing something, you're contributing to the house. You're cleaning, you're doing the laundry, you're cooking. You're being of support to your spouse. That's changing the story to protect the ego. You can do that if you wish, but it will at best be temporary. Does the self do anything good? I am motionless, changeless. I do nothing. I want. That's the only freedom. Next idea.
constant even-mindedness in the midst of the desirable and undesirable happenings.
Yes. So the idea of tuning up the mind, emptying out the mind, letting the sensory data just pass through, dialing down the reactivity of the mind, endeavoring always let it go, go. Quality of mind, it's a quality of vision. Gita calls it samadrishta. It's the quality of vision. Next idea.
That's it for that.
All right. Next verse.
Mayi yananya yogena bhaktiravya bhicharini vivikta desha sevitva maritirjana sansadi. Unswerving devotion to me through the yoga of non-separation, resorting to the sequestered places, distaste for the society of men.
So again, continuing these auspicious desires, the subhej. So the first idea,
Unswerving devotion to me through the yoga of non-separation.
so always endeavoring to tune up the mind, this deep introversion, drown the mind in Brahman, soak the mind in the roar of Om. And in terms of the world, everything in the world is yoga. So I talk about the three places Guru shows up. There's the external Guru, which is a temporary psychological device. Then the Guru shows up in the world. If I'm disturbed, no matter the cause, I'm the one with the klesha, the defilement, the affliction. So Guru shows up as the circumstances that trigger that klesha. And the world will continue to do that until I let it go. That's Guru. Some traditions, the Guru will poke at you. But the physical Guru doesn't need to be present. Light does a very good job of it. And in the end, Guru is your own deep, intuitive wisdom. You will know what to do. Next idea.
Resorting to sequestered places.
Yes. So, some of us are terrified of being alone. There's a slogan in AA that the alcoholic by himself is in a dangerous neighborhood because our minds afflict us. But in yoga, we have to be comfortable in our own skin. We have to be willing to spend time with this fascinating process of examining our own interior experience. In the Vedanta tradition, we have the term swadhyaya, which means our own study of scripture on our own. You study it the first time with the guru, then you revisit it on your own. That's called swadhyaya. In the Raja Yoga tradition, the term really just means self-study, has a different meaning. It means inventorying our psychological material, becoming familiar with character assets and character defects. Having this honesty. So we talk about the need to embrace a life of rigorous honesty. Cash register honesty is just the beginning. The more challenging honesty is to admit to ourselves our egoistic motivations and the mind's never ending tendency to hide a bad motive behind a good one.
Mhm.
And the more we abandon a personal sense of self, the more honest we're able to be about these kleshas. Next idea.
Distaste for the society of men.
So this here doesn't mean that we become antisocial. If the circumstances of your life are such that you're required to be in a social interaction, do it and enjoy it. Be appropriate. If, on the other hand, you are naturally an introvert, I will give you a clue of how you can better participate in the society of people, be of service. If you're going to a party, see if you can help put the food out. Pick up empty glasses. Take out the trash. Look and find the person who's the wallflower sitting in the corner. Go over and be present to them. Simplest way to deal with social anxiety. Now, many of us are actually extroverted. We crave the company of people, but we have crappy social skills. Not the same thing. So we have to learn how to listen to people, to not be so self-centered. But in the end, the yogi will find that we need to have time for our practice. We give up what do the young people call it? FOMO, the fear of missing out. Oh, I got to be with people while they're doing something fun. No harm, but we find less and less of a need to do that. We can seek holy company, sadhu sangha, and time alone. Next idea.
That's it for that verse.
Okay, one more.
Adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnanartha darshanam etajya jnanamiti proktam ajnanam yadato nyatha. Constancy in the knowledge of the self, understanding of the end of the knowledge of truth. This is declared to be knowledge, and what is opposed to it is ignorance.
Okay, so we're summing up all of these things. Again, we start with this list of qualities of head and heart, which help us develop a sattvic mind. Then we begin the practice of inquiry into the nature of the self. Jnana abhyasa. This is now what is suggested by the verse. So the first idea,
constancy in the knowledge of the self.
Endeavoring to remember, who am I? The subtle discrimination between the self and the ego sense. Hang with koham, who am I? If I feel like a person, I'm deluded. No personal sense of self is real. Drop it. Don't try to resolve the struggle of ego. Drop the struggle. Viveka, vairagyacha. Now, the Jivan Mukta has no need to constantly practice. Just like you, as a human being, have no need to constantly remember that you have a human body. It's obvious. It takes no effort or practice. But for us yogis, we have to practice it until all the habituated false identifications are renounced. Next idea.
Understanding of the end of the knowledge of truth.
Yes. What is the end of the journey? There are traditions that say there's no destination, there's just the journey. Knock yourself out. May you have a long life, as Vidyaranya says. Yoga says no, there is an end. What is the end? My favorite, verse 55, second chapter of Gita. When a person casts off all the desires of the mind, O Partha, satisfied in the self, by the self, and they're said to be a person of steady wisdom. When that sthita, that steady wisdom is achieved, that's the end of the journey. I'm going through this book called The Noble Eightfold Path with a friend. And we're looking at right view right now. And the commentator is Bikram Bodhi, I think the fellow's name is. And one of the things that he's saying is the Buddha was absolutely clear, even though renunciation is something we may work on for lifetimes. Nirvana, the end of the path, permanent freedom from suffering, is the same as perfect renunciation. What is perfect renunciation? When I see the emptiness of the world and the total unreality of the mind itself. Okay, we'll end here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha. Hari Om. Thank